I'd like to welcome everybody to Eagles Haven Ministry. This is our Shabbat service, and we thank you for tuning in today. And we are going to be sharing today on their next feast coming up. It's Shavuot, or some pronounce it Shavuot. And it's in the scriptures. We're going to go through all these things so we'll understand all the words and the terms of what it means. So we'll start off today in the book of, let's go to Shemoth, or Exodus 34. See verse 22. It says, "And you shall perform the festival of Shavuot for yourself, of the first fruits of wheat harvest, and the festival of the ingathering at the turn of the year." Okay, now this is the festival of Shavuot. Okay, another pronunciation is Shavuot. Okay, and another one is Shavuot. Okay? They all mean the same thing. What happened is when they lost a language and they began to retranslate it, they lost some of the meaning. Actually, what it means in English term, it means the Feast of Weeks. So if you look in some scripture, you'll see Feast of Weeks. Okay? And you'll hear some say Shavuot, and you'll hear some say Shavuot or Shavuot. Okay, and they all mean the same thing. Shavuot and Shavuot, it means weeks. Okay? So let's look at the next scripture, and we're going to understand how we begin to count this. And then we're going to look at the meaning of it. Okay, let's go to Deuteronomy. Devarim, chapter 16, verse number 8. It says, 6 days you eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there is a closing festival to Yahuwah, your Elohim. You do no work. And so we've already done that. Remember where we get the leaven out? Okay? And for the 7 days we don't eat any yeast, so that we've already finished that feast. Okay, but then the next scripture tells us how to count for this one, which is the Feast of Weeks, and it's Shavuot or Shabbat, and that just means weeks. Okay, that's the Hebrew pronunciation of weeks. And as we're all learning the language, you'll hear a couple different people pronounce it a little differently. Okay, but it basically means weeks. Okay, if you translate it into English, the word that we're trying to pronounce in Hebrew means weeks. Shavuot, a lot of the Yahudim would use that term, and then a lot of the believers use Shabuah. If you look in the concordance, it says Shabuah, and it means weeks. So verse 9 says, "Count 7 weeks for yourself. Begin to count your 7 weeks from the time you put the sickle to the grain." Verse 10, "And you shall perform the festival of Shavuot to Yahuwah your Elohim, according to the voluntary offering in your hand, which Yahuwah gives you. Your Elohim Baruchs you." Okay, and Baruch is just a better word for the word bless or favor. If you want an English word, favor is better. Blessed is used in a pagan ritual, which you don't want to have to beat nobody up over it, but just favor is a better definition of that word. So it says for us to count 7 weeks from the last day of the leaven. Yeah. So that would be 7 Sabbaths. Okay. So remember our New Year begins when we see the new moon, And then from the new moon, we count 14 days, and that is Pesach. And after we have our 7 days of unleavened, or matzah. See, you'll hear the same words. Unleavened is the word in English, but in Hebrew it's the word matzah. Okay? In the English word weeks is Shavuot or Shavuot. You'll hear the traditional Yahudim say Shavuot, and it's not to get in a big argument over that. Everybody understands what they're trying to say. Okay, so that's no big deal. You know what I mean? In a sense. Okay, it's not worth fighting with somebody over if they understand what it means in a sense. So if you hear that word, you'll understand it. You hear Shavuot, you hear Shabuah or Shabuoth, you'll know that means the festival of weeks. Okay, so we're to count 7 Shabbats from the end of unleavened bread, and then it say after the day after the 7th Shabbat, which falls on the first day of the week. Okay, and it doesn't mean we can't do anything on that day because it's Sunday. Okay, Yahuwah created all days. You know what I mean? The Shabbat is on Saturday, but sometimes these things will fall on a Sunday. The other ones, that doesn't mean that Sunday's the day of worship. We're just counting it out the days, and that's where it falls. So all the days are Yahuwah's. We can't say, well, we're not going to do it because it's Sunday. When the count falls on that day, that's just the way that we honor it. So it says we're supposed to count 49. So it's 7 weeks, and there's 7 days in a week. So 7 times 7 is 49, and then it's the next day, which is 50. Okay, and that's when we used to call it Pentecost. Okay, well, Pentecost, it means 50 in the Greek. Okay, Pentecost means count 50, or the number 50. Okay, so where we used to call it Pentecost, which a lot of us were still adjusting, that's more familiar to us. It actually is the Feast of Weeks, or Shabuah. Okay, so it's 50 days after the last day of unleavened bread that we count. Okay, so now we got the day down because we've had 7 Shabbats. Or this one, next week will be our 7th Shabbat, and then the day after is the actual feast. So now let's find out what He asks of us in this day and what He requires of us. Let's look at, let's keep reading. It says, you shall perform the festival of Shavuot, verse 10 of chapter 16, to Yahuwah your Elohim, according to the voluntary offer of your hand, which He has given you, which Elohim blesses you, or baruchs you. You shall rejoice before Yahuwah your Elohim, your son, your daughter, your male servant, your female servant, and the Levite who is within your gates, and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow who are in your midst, at the place where Yahuwah your Elohim chooses to make His name to dwell. And you shall remember that you were a slave in Mitzrayim, and you shall guard and do these. Okay? So it's talking about right here, it doesn't specify, it says we're to gather together and we're to rejoice. Okay? Let's look at verse number 16. It says, 3 times a year all your males appear before Yahuwah your Elohim in the place where He chooses, at the festival of Matzah, okay, which is unleavened. Okay, that's just Hebrew. Matzah means unleavened in English. We translate it to English, it means unleavened. At the festival of Shavuot, which is weeks. So if we want to say it in English, it's the festival of unleavened bread, and at the festival of weeks, and at the festival of Sukkot. And none shall appear before Yahuwah empty-handed. Verse 17. But each one with the gift of his hand, according to the favor of Yahuwah your Elohim, which He has given you. Okay? So this is what He says. He says these 3, He's commanded us to come together before Yahuwah in the place where He chooses. Okay? And so he says, when you come, you bring something. Okay? It doesn't say what you bring, it's whatever you choose to bring. Okay? He says, just don't come empty-handed. Okay, so these 3 feasts, He's called us to gather together. Shabbat. Okay, so it's just a day where we get together. We read one scripture where it says we rejoice. And we're going to see how this relates and what the purpose of all this is, so we have an understanding. Remember at Pesach, or the Passover, is when they were delivered from Egypt, from Mitzrayim, from the place of sin. Okay? And then they left Egypt. And before Moshe had went to Egypt to rescue them, Yahuwah had told Moshe, he says, remember when he seen him? He seen the bush that was burning, that wasn't consumed. And then Moshe went over and was talking to Yahuwah. And Yahuwah said, I want you to go and set my people free. And then they're going to come back here and they're going to worship me on this same mountain. Okay? So he goes over, he gets them, they're set free, they come out on Pesach, they celebrate the Pesach, which Yahuwah comes and he passes over those that are behind the blood. The rest of them, the firstborn, are killed. Okay? They come out of Mitzrayim, they come out of Egypt. The Mitzrites follow them. Okay, they're swallowed up by the water. Okay, so now they're going into the wilderness. Okay, and they're coming back to the mountain where Yahuwah had told Moshe. Okay, so as we're counting here, with this one we can keep a time frame. They're going to hit on this mountain 7 Shabbats. So it's been like, it's coming up on 50 days since they came out of Mitzrayim. Okay, now there's something that happens when they get to Sinai. Okay, let's read chapter 19, Exodus 19, verse 1. It says, in the 3rd new moon, after the children of Israel had come out of the land of Mitzrayim, on this day they came to the wilderness of Sinai. They set out from Rephidim, and they came to the wilderness of Sinai and camped in the wilderness. So Israel camped there before the mountain. Okay? So this is that same mountain where Yahuwah first revealed himself to Moshe. And Yahuwah said that you will come back to this mountain with the children of Israel. So they're back to this mountain. Okay, now there's something happened here at this mountain that's really important. Okay. It says, and Moshe went up to Elohim, and Yahuwah called him from the mountain, saying, this is what you are to say to the house of Yaakov, and declare to the children of Israel. You have seen what I did to the Mitzrites, and how I bore you on eagle's wings, and brought you to myself. And now, if you diligently obey my voice, and guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be to me a reign of Kohanim, and a Kodesh nation. Or this one says, a reign of priests and a set-apart nation. Who are the words? Those are the words which you are to speak to the children of Israel. Okay? Now, here's what's happening here. There's a covenant that's taking place. Okay? They're basically, Yahuwah is marrying the children of Israel. Okay? That was his plan. Okay? Now what happens in a physical relationship before you get married? Alright? You pretty much get to know one another. Okay? So Yahuwah revealed himself to the children of Israel. He began to show how He could protect them. He began to show how He can love them. He began to show how He can save them. Okay? So it's the same thing when two people are getting ready to take covenant. Okay? And it doesn't mean you have to show them by dating, but the way you are, the things you do, or the way that you carry yourself, the way you handle situations, that a woman could see a man, because this is what the children of Israel are like the woman, and Yahuwah is like the husband. Okay? So Yahuwah comes and rescues His wife out of bondage. They're not married yet. Okay? And then when He rescues her, He begins to reveal to Israel and show them how He can protect her. Okay? How He can provide for her. Okay? Now this is speaking of us too. Okay? We're part of the children of Israel. Okay? So now He brings them to this mountain, and here's what He's saying. He's saying, okay, I showed you my love for you. Okay? I showed you how much you mean to me. Okay? And we can even look in the world and see that, and sometimes it doesn't last, right? You see some relationships where the guy does things for the woman, and then after a certain while, after a certain time, then it's like, oh, they don't do it no more. It ain't that important. And it's like, don't do the same things that they do. Don't continue to love the way that they did in the beginning. Okay? So He's not asking them, saying, hey, let's get married and you don't know me, you don't know my character, or you don't know how I am. The first thing He did is He showed them. Okay? He showed them that He loved them. He showed them that He can protect them. He showed them that He can provide for them. Right? That would be like all through the wilderness up to this point. It's like He was showing what He can do for them, how He can take care of them. Okay? And so now they come to this place, and He says, I've shown you what I'm about. I'm just kind of paraphrasing it, but He basically tells them, look I showed you what I'm about, and I want to take covenant with you. I want to marry you. Okay? And just like when two people take covenant and they take vows, okay, Yahuwah is speaking His vow to Israel. He's telling them, this is what I will do for you. Okay? And this is what I want you to do for me. So they're coming into an agreement. Okay? It's just like if I'm going to go work for somebody, or someone's going to come work for me. Okay? They say, okay, before we go into a relationship, or before we go into a business deal, okay, it's best for us to both know what we're going to get, right? How many people will go get a job and say, hey, come work for me and I'll pay you? And you don't know how much you're going to get paid. You don't know if you're going to get paid. Right? They could say, all right, I'll come work for you. Then you come work for them a week, and you're expecting to get paid, and then you say, hey, what about me getting paid? It's like, oh, I didn't tell you. I was going to pay you next year. Right? Yeah, it would be, right? So what happens first? The first thing you do is you go and you say, okay, let's make a contract. Okay, let's make a covenant. Okay, I want you to work for me, and I'm going to pay you this much, and I'm going to pay you by the hour, I'm going to pay you by the job, or I'm going to pay you by this. So all these things are worked out before, and then when the two people agree, he said, okay, you're going to pay me $10 an hour, and I'm going to work, and you're going to pay me at the end of the week, okay, and I'll be on call or whatever, or you want me this day, and this day. You say, okay, now we shook hands, we made a covenant. Okay, so that's the same thing that's happening here. Yahuwah is making covenant with Israel. Okay, he's going to marry them, and so He's sharing with him how He wants to protect them. Okay, He's making His vows to the children of Israel. Okay, and He says, verse 7, and Moshe came and called the elders of the people and put before them all these words which Yahuwah commanded. And all the people answered together and said, all that Yahuwah has spoken, we shall do. So Moshe brought back words of the people to Yahuwah. So here's Yahuwah. He comes out Okay? Just like I'm hiring you. I come to you, I say, hey, look, I need some help. Okay? I want you to work for me 20 hours a week, and I'll give you this much amount of money. Or I want you to do this job for me. Fix my pool, and I'll pay you $100 or $150, whatever it is. So I'm proposing to you. Okay? Like a contract. And then it's up to you whether you say, okay, I agree to that. Okay, now we're in covenant. Now we've made an agreement. Okay? So what Yahuwah is doing is He's proposing to Yisrael. Okay? It's almost like well, it is. It's the same way as a man will propose to his wife. Okay? He's proposing to them and he's saying, okay, I love you. This is what I want to do for you. This is what I can do for you. Okay? Are you willing to accept the terms of this contract, of this covenant? Right? And Moshe went to the people, and the people said, yes, we agree. So at that point, then they became married. And they became married. They were in covenant. Okay? Verse 9. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, see, I am coming to you in a thick cloud, so that the people hear when I speak with you, and believe you forever. And Moshe reported the words to the people of Yahuwah. And Yahuwah sent to Moshe, go to the people and kadosh them today and tomorrow, and they shall wash their garments. Okay. Verse 11, and shall be prepared the third day, for on the third day Yahuwah shall come down on Mount Sinai before the eyes of all the people. Okay, so now it's like he's got a go-between. So it's not like, right, and it's almost like the way they were married before. They didn't really, the man would really offer to the woman his services, what he can do for her. Okay, and then probably in the same time there was a go-between. Okay, they hadn't actually physically hung out like that. They hadn't actually physically met. Okay, he made a proposal, and Moshe was the one hooking him up, in a sense. You know what I mean? Moshe was the one hooking him up, like a friend hooking up, his friend, introducing. Hey, check this out. I know this guy. You know what I mean? And he seems like he'd be good for you. You guys are both in the same. So Moshe's like the one that's connecting them. He's the one that's setting them up. Okay? So he goes to Yahuwah, and Yahuwah says, you know what? I want to marry the children of Israel. And these are the things I can do for him. Go over there and ask them if they want to be in covenant with me, if they want to marry me. So Moshe goes, and he says, dude, Yahuwah wants to make covenant with you. Yahuwah wants to marry you. Will you guys accept? And they say, yes, I'll be in covenant with, yes, I'll marry you. So then Moshe goes back to Yahuwah, said, dude, they like you, right? They like you. Yeah, that's cool. Right? So let's do this. Okay? So now Yahuwah is getting ready to introduce himself. Okay? He's getting ready to introduce himself, and he tells them to set themselves apart for them to get clean. So it's almost like when somebody gets married, right? What happens? The bride gets all pretty, right? She gets a nice dress, gets her hair done, gets makeup, maybe cuts her toenails, never cut before, right? Clean them out, make sure, right? Gets ready, say gets clean. So that's what they were doing. They were getting spiritually clean. They were preparing themselves for this wedding that was going to take place because they were the bride, okay? And it says Yahuwah was going to come upon the mountain himself. Okay, so it was going to confirm the covenant. Because up to this point, there was somebody in the middle of them. Okay? It'd be like, if you're courting somebody, there's accountability. You're not just all by yourself. You're not just, you know what I mean? To make sure that you don't mess up or do anything before you're supposed to. So he's the in-between. But now he says, okay, now that I've proposed, now that this is all done, let's go ahead and get married. So he said, prepare yourself. Okay, so they're getting all ready. They're getting all fixed up spiritually. Okay? They're getting ready for their husband. And Yahuwah is already ready for his bride. So that there's going to be this is a marriage here. It's a covenant that's taking place. Let's read verse 12. And you shall make a border for the people around it, saying, take heed to yourselves that you do not go up the mountain or touch the border of it. Whoever touches the mountain shall certainly be put to death. Not a hand is to touch it, but he shall certainly be stoned or shot with an arrow, whether man or beast. He shall not live. And when the trumpet sounds long, let him go up on the mountain. Okay, so they couldn't go on the mountain until a certain time. There was a certain time frame for this all to take place. Okay, and if something happened before that, then, they would be put to death. And Moshe came down from the mountain to the people and Kadesh the people, or set them apart, and they washed their garments. And he said to the people, be prepared on the third day, do not come near a wife. 16. And it came to be on the third day in the morning that they were thunder and lightnings and a thick cloud on the mountain, and the sound of a ram's horn was very loud, and all the people who were in the camp trembled. And Moshe brought the people out of the camp to meet with Elohim, and they stood in front at the foot of the mountain. And Mount Sinai was in smoke, all of it, because Yahuwah descended upon it in fire, and the smoke went up like the smoke of a furnace, and the mountain trembled exceedingly. And when the blast of the ram's horn sounded long and became very strong, Moshe spoke, and Elohim answered him by voice. And Yahuwah came down upon Mount Sinai at the top of the mountain, and Yahuwah called Moshe to the top of the mountain, and Moshe went up. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, go down, warn the people, lest they break through to see Yahuwah, and many of them fall. 22. And let the Kohanim, or the priests, who come near Yahuwah set themselves apart too, lest they break out against them. And Moshe said to Yahuwah, the people are not able to come up to Mount Sinai, for you warned us, saying, make a border around it, make a border around the mountain and set it apart. And Yahuwah said to him, come, go down, then come up, you and Aaron with you, but do not let the Kohanim and the people break through to come up, lest he break out against them. And Moshe went down to the people and spoke to them. Okay? Now here's the actual chapter 20. It says, and Elohim spoke these words, saying, I am Yahuwah your Elohim. So now what he's doing, he's making his vows. Okay? His vows are his are sharing his responsibilities, what he's going to do, what he's asking them to do, but also what he's going to do for them. Okay, so they're coming into an agreement. It says, I am Yahuwah your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of slavery. Have no other mighty ones against my face. You do not make yourself a carved image or any likeness of that which is in the Shemaim above, or which is in the heaven beneath, or which is in the waters under the earth. You do not bow down to them nor serve them, for I am Yahuwah your Elohim. I am a jealous Al, visiting the wickedness of the fathers of the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing kindness to thousands, to those who love me and guard my commands. So he's saying, don't cheat on me, okay? Because I'm jealous. Hey, I love you. You see it all the time when somebody cheats on somebody, and then bad things happen. So he's saying, I'm committing to you. Okay, these are some of the things that I'm requiring of you as a bride. Okay, and these are some of the things that'll hurt me. Right? Isn't that how a relationship is supposed to be? You say, I don't like this. Okay, please don't do that. Please don't talk to me that way. Please don't do this to me. That hurts me. That upsets me. That frustrates me. Whatever it might be. So it's the same way he's sharing with them the things that he's requiring of them. He's sharing with them the things that he's expecting of them as a bride. Okay? But also in what he's expecting of them, he's telling them what he's going to do for them. In verse 6, you see it. He says, but showing kindness to thousands, to those who love me and guard my commands. So he says, I'm kind. I love you. Okay? I have good things for you. I'm not just coming to tell you that you got to listen to all these things I tell you, and it's for no good. He said, I love you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to protect you. Verse 7. You do not bring the name of Yahuwah your Elohim to naught, for Yahuwah does not leave the one unpunished who brings his name to naught. Remember the Shabbat day to set it apart. 6 days you labor and you shall do work, but on the 7th day is the Shabbat to Yahuwah your Elohim. You do no work, you, your son, your daughter, your male servant, your female servant, your cattle, nor the stranger who is in your gates. Okay, so Shabbat is a special day, and I just never seen that just till right now. But imagine this, what happens in a lot of relationships? Right? Why do a lot of people break up? No communication, right? You don't spend time with me, you're too busy. Right? You never listen to me, you never talk to me. You're too busy going here, you're too busy doing this, you're too busy doing that. You never sit down with me. We never talk about anything. Okay, you never listen to me. You always tell me, and then when I'm trying to talk to you, you're playing with your phone or you're doing this or that. Okay, so that's the same thing with Yahuwah is saying here. He says the Shabbat day is a day where we pay attention to one another. Okay, and if we pay attention to one another, then we could communicate. Okay, if I'm sharing with my wife and she's listening to me, and if she's sharing with me and I'm listening to her, okay, then I'm going to understand the things that I'm doing that are hurting her, the things that I'm doing that are good. Okay, and if I'm doing things that I'm not supposed to be doing, if I listen to her, then I'm able to take that and I can change that about myself. Okay, so it's the same thing with Yahuwah. Yahuwah is the husband. He's called us to be the bride. Okay, so he's saying we need this quality time together. Alright, you hear it all the time. I need quality time. You need to spend time with me. What about me? Okay, yeah, we're always together, but we don't never spend time just me and you. Okay, that's what he's saying. Yahuwah's saying we need quality time to speak to one another. And that's what Shabbat is. Shabbat is the quality time. Okay, Shabbat is the time to communicate. Most relationships fall apart because of communication. Okay, people aren't spending time together, or they're not listening to one another. Okay, so after so long, then it's, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this. You're not listening to me. You're not listening to me. Then they begin to grow apart, right? And some people will say, well, you hear it all the time. It's like, well, why did you cheat on that person? Well, because this person listens to me, and they care about my feelings, and they know, right? They care about what I have to say. You know, that's a lot of times how it happens, from lack of communication. So the Shabbat is a day where we're to fellowship with Him, is spending quality time with Yahuwah. It's like we're to spend quality time with a husband and a wife. Verse 11, it says, for 6 days Yahuwah made the Shemaim and the earth and the sea and all that is in them, and He rested on the 7th day. Therefore Yahuwah barak the Shabbat day and kadosh it, or set it apart. It says, respect your father and your mother, so that your days are prolonged, which the soil which Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you. Do not murder, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not bear false witness against your neighbor. Do not covet your neighbor's house, do not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, his female servant, his ox, his donkey, whatever belongs to your neighbor. Verse 18, and all the people saw the thunders and lightnings and flashings, and the smoke of the ram's horn, and the mountain smoking, and they saw it, and they trembled and stood at a distance. And they said to Moshe, you speak with us, and we will hear, but let not Elohim speak with us, lest we die. And Moshe said to the people, do not fear, for Elohim has come to prove you, in order that His reverence be before you, so that you do not sin. And the people stood at a distance, but Moshe drew near the dense cloud where Elohim was. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, say to the children of Israel, you yourselves have seen that I have spoken to you from the Shemaim. Do not make besides me mighty ones of silver, do not make mighty ones of gold for yourselves. Okay, so here's what happened. He began to speak to them, and then they began to get afraid. Okay, and they said, we'd rather hear you, Moshe. We'd rather hear you than to hear Yahuwah. Okay, you speak for us. You still be the in-between. Okay. What Yahuwah wanted to do at that point is He wanted to begin to speak to them individually. Okay, yeah, Moshe was there, and Moshe was the go-between. But at this point, when Yahuwah was speaking to them, he was trying to establish a serious relationship with them. Okay, but they got afraid. They were afraid of Him. They were afraid of His voice. They feared Him. They were afraid of His set apartness. Okay, so what this is, Shavuot, or this feast that's coming up in next week, is actually a wedding anniversary. It's pretty much what it is, to keep it simple. Okay, it's a wedding anniversary. Okay, let's turn to Acts chapter 2. Maaseh. What happens on a wedding anniversary? Or what's supposed to happen? Celebrate. What else? What else happens? Your vows? Yeah, reminisce. Right? Oh, remember this? Remember when you this and that? You know, you're like, oh, remember when that time when this? You remember when you did this? Or remember when you? Right? So you reminisce. Okay? So that's the same thing. This is an anniversary. Okay? So we're supposed to look back on all the wonderful things that Yahuwah has done for our generations before, but also for us. Okay? So it's a reminder. It's like it's an anniversary. Remember the first time? Remember the first time after we got married when we went here? Remember the first time I cooked for you and I tried to give it to you and you still weren't comfortable telling me you didn't like it and you ate it, you know, and it was something you didn't like to eat? Some people are just honest straight out. It's like, you know what? I love you. We've only been together for this long, but still, you know what? I don't like it. But for whatever reason, it's a time of reminiscing, a time of going over. Remember, oh, we've been together for this long. Man, it's been so long. So it's the same thing, okay? It's a wedding anniversary, to make it simple. Okay? It's just a wedding anniversary. Okay? It's a time that we get together. We're called to get together. It's a time to remember what He's done for us. Okay? It's a time to give thanks. Okay? And appreciate. We appreciate, okay, what He's done for us. We appreciate Him being faithful to us. Okay? And one of the things that could happen, which is good in a relationship, is you can use that time also to be like, how are things going? Okay? Is there anything that I used to do that I don't do anymore? Okay? Have I in any way stopped loving you? How am I? You know what I mean, towards you? And it can go both ways, you know? You know, it's our anniversary, you know, have I changed in any way? Have I gotten better? Is there things that I can improve on? Is there something that I could do a little bit better? Okay? Yeah, you reevaluate. So you go through all this. So all these things can happen. You know, you can reminisce. You know, you can go back, look at all the good things. You can reevaluate. You can ask Him, okay, man, we've been together for this long. Whoa, we're going pretty strong, okay? Or it's been this long. Wow, we made it. This one was rough, but we're still going. You know what I mean? We're still here. You know, we're still together. So let's work on this. Let's get this. So it's the same thing with our relationship with Yahuwah. You know, we're looking back. We're understanding that it's anniversary. So, in Maaseh chapter 2, Acts chapter 2, verse 1. Now this was the famous verse where we used to, you know, when we used to call it Pentecost, and we used to always talk about this. We used to always share, but we never really understood. We just thought it was the day that the Spirit came, and we didn't understand what it meant and understand the fullness of it. But now it's going to be a little different because we have a better understanding. It says, verse 2, and when the day of the festival of Shavuot had come, and Shavuot means the Feast of Weeks. Okay, so what does it mean, weeks? 7 weeks from the end of unleavened bread. The next day after the 7 weeks, 50 days is that feast. It's a wedding anniversary. Okay. They were with one mind in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from the Shemaim as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled the house where they were sitting. And there appeared to them divided tongues as a fire, and each settled on them. And they were all filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, and began to speak with other tongues, as the Ruach gave them to speak. And this word tongues here is actually languages. Okay, it's not something that doesn't make sense of it's actually a physical, another language. Okay, they're speaking in different languages that's foreign to them. Okay, but it's a language. It's not just a bunch of mumbling of words. Okay, which we thought it was before. Okay, we're sincerely wrong about that. But if you look up the word tongue, it means a language. They were speaking different languages. Okay, and it's going to explain that right here. Let's keep reading. It says, now in Jerusalem there were dwelling Yahudim, dedicated men from every nation under the Shemaim. So there was people of every nation, races, and languages dwelling in Jerusalem. And when this sound came to be, the crowd came together and were confused, because everyone heard them speak in his own language. Okay, so that's where the definition of the tongues is. They were hearing other languages. Okay, they weren't hearing just a bunch of weird words in the air. Okay, verse 7. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying to each other, look, are not all these who speak Galileans? And how do we hear each one in our own language in which we were born? Parthians and Madites and Elamites and those dwelling in Aram, Naharim, both Yehuda and Cappadocia, Pontus and Asia, both in Phrygia and Philumia, Mitzrayim and other parts of Libu and Cyrene, visitors from Rome, both Yahudim and converts, Cretans and Arabs, we hear them speaking in our own tongues, our languages, the great deeds of Elohim. And they were all amazed and were puzzled, saying to each other, what does this mean? And others mocking said, they have been filled with sweet wine. So one of them said, oh, they're just drunk, dude. Right? But the other people were confused. It'd be like, dude, this guy's from Russia. And the Russian dude saying, hey, I hear him speaking Russian. And the other guy saying, hey, I hear him speaking my language. Hey, I hear him speaking my language. I hear him speaking French. I hear him speaking Chinese. I hear him speaking Spanish. All these things. So they were like, wow, this is amazing. And then someone else, the other ones just remarking, said, oh, these dudes are drunk. It says, but Kepha, standing up with the 11, lifted his voice and said to them, men of Yehuda, all those dwelling in Jerusalem, let this be known to you, and listen closely to my words. For these men are not drunk as you imagine, since it is only the third hour of the day. So it says, dude, these people aren't drunk, it's too early. Okay, the bar don't open this early. It takes too long to get drunk this fast. It says, but this is what is spoken by the Nabi Yoel, or the prophet Yoel. And it shall be in the last days, says Yahuwah, that I shall pour out my Ruach on all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall nabah, or prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And also on my male servants and on my female servants I shall pour out my Ruach in those days, and they shall nabah. And I shall show wonders in the Shemaim above, and the signs in the earth beneath, blood and fire and vapor of smoke. And the sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the coming of the great and splendid day of Yahuwah. And it shall be that everyone who calls on the name of Yahuwah shall be saved. Okay, now I'm going to stop right there, because what happened here? They were actually gathered together on the wedding anniversary, and Yahuwah poured out His Ruach. In a sense, like Chris was saying, on a wedding anniversary, sometimes you give gifts. So Yahuwah was giving a gift to His bride. Okay? And what's the best kind of gift you can get? Something that you can use, right? Something that's valuable to you. Something that you can say, let's say you get I don't know, a new toothbrush, and you already have 4 toothbrushes, and you're like, oh, alright, toothbrush, I already got 4 of them, but thank you, honey. Alright? Like, I don't really need it, but I guess I will maybe in 2 years from now. Alright? But a gift that you can use that's valuable to you. Okay? So He poured out His Ruach. Okay? The ultimate gift, His Spirit, which guides us, which gives us shalom, which gives us contentment, which gives us strength, which gives us endurance. Okay? So this was a wedding anniversary, and He presented a gift to us. Okay? And actually here, this was a renewing, okay, of the covenant. He was renewing the covenant. Okay, like sometimes on a wedding anniversary, have you ever heard of people that renew their vows? When we're married for 50 years, we're going to renew our vows. Okay, we're going to speak our vows again. Just not that the other ones were old, but we just want to do it again. Okay, some people just want to have an excuse to get dressed up, have another party. That's cool, right? Do it again. So it's a wedding anniversary. Okay, and it's a day where Yahuwah has called us to gather. Okay, there's nothing. It's not a Shabbat. Okay, we're allowed to cook. It says we're allowed to rejoice. Okay, we get together, we rejoice. He commands us to gather. Okay, it's a wedding anniversary. Why? Because we are those that have accepted Yahuwah. We are His bride. Okay, not one of us, but all of us together as a whole. All right. So as His bride, it would be like if we don't show up on that day to honor Him, it would be like forgetting your wedding anniversary. All right. What happens? You're in trouble. You forgot. Right. Oh, I didn't forget. I already had something right here. I just got to go get it. I left it at my friend's house so you wouldn't see it. And run to the store real quick and buy something. See, told you. Okay, so you get in trouble. Right? It's not a good thing to forget that. Okay, so it's the same thing with Yahuwah. It says he's jealous. Okay, so if we forget about Him, right, He's going to be jealous. Okay, what's more important than me? I'm supposed to be a husband. Okay, what happens if it's an anniversary and you forgot about your anniversary and you went and you hung out with somebody else and you left your husband or you left your wife at home? I come home, what am I? Huh? The leftovers? Right, you forgot all about me. You go spend time with your guy friends or your girlfriends, and I'm supposed to be. This is supposed to be our day. This is supposed to be our time. So the same thing, Yahuwah. He's like, this is our time. Okay, this is our anniversary. Okay, now He poured out His Spirit. He gave a gift to the people that were there waiting. Okay, now remember in this story there was a lot of people that started off waiting, but a lot of them left. Okay. A lot of them left. So they didn't get to receive the gift. Okay? And it's not about we're going to show up on that day and automatically we're going to get the gift. Okay? It's based upon our love towards Him, our obedience towards Him. Okay? It's like we don't get something that we don't deserve. Okay? So it doesn't mean just because I know what day it is that I show up and that means that I'm going to be filled with His Ruach even though I'm not living right. It doesn't work that way. Okay? It comes from the fact of understanding and knowing, obeying His commands, loving Him, okay, treating Him with respect, okay, serving Him. It says, He says, I'll pour out on my male and my female servants. Okay? What does that mean? We were talking about last night with the youth. You can serve Yahuwah. What happens if you have a guest come to your house? Right? Say somebody comes to your house has never been to your house before. Let's say I was sharing with the youth last night. Let's say you met a stranger, or let's say you broke down on the freeway. And somebody comes up, maybe it's one of your friends, say a friend you knew, family member, who you never met before. And you're stranded on the side of the freeway, you have a flat tire, and then all of a sudden they're driving by, they notice your car, they pull up and they're like, hey, aren't you friends with my cousin so-and-so? And you're like, oh yeah. Like, dude, can I help you? And like, you know what? I don't think you can help me. I appreciate it, but I don't have no money to pay for my tire. I'm $40 short, whatever. And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. I'll give you the $40. Okay, I'll give you a ride to the store. I'll come back. I'll help you change the tire. Okay, so they come back, help you change your tire, and you're like, well, you're missing a lug nut, so I'll follow you home to make sure you get home okay. Okay, so pretty much this person that you just barely met helps you out, lets you borrow his money, make sure he gets home safely. Then they get to your house and you say, hey, are you thirsty? Are you hungry? You want to come inside? It's hot. You want to come in for a little bit, sit in the cool air, rest? You want to come wash your hands, wash up? I know you got dirty from changing the tire, whatever, okay? So you begin to become a host, or you begin to serve that person, okay? That person comes into your house, you begin to serve them. Or just if somebody comes over to your house in general, you begin, hey, are you okay? Need to use the restroom? The restroom's right there if you need to. The cups are here if you want some ice, or you want this and that. So, the same thing we can serve Yahuwah. We can ask Yahuwah, okay, what can I do for you today? Do you need any help in anything? Yeah. Do you need me to speak to one of your children? How am I doing with you? Yeah. So we can serve Him in that way. We can serve Him by bowing down and singing to Him, but we also can serve Him by asking Him if He needs anything. Okay, very simple. Okay, and you think, well, Yahuwah has everything. He doesn't need anything. Well, He does need His children. Okay, and He needs people to speak to His children. Okay, so we can use that. Yahuwah, can I help you in any way? You need me to pray for anything today? You need me to pray for anybody? Okay, now I'm asking Him. I'm serving Him. Okay, so we serve Him. If we serve Him in that way, then He's going to honor us as well. Okay, with the gift, according to our service to Him, according to our faithfulness to Him, is according to the measure of the gift that He pours upon us, or the measure that He deals with us, that responds to us, right? We have His attention. Not that anybody is any special than anybody else. We're all the same, but in a sense of depending on how close we are to Him, by the things that we do and by the way we listen to Him. Okay, so this is just a covenant. Okay, this feast is a covenant. Okay, it calls us just to gather together, to spend time, to understand that it's a covenant. And we can, maybe one of the things we can do is go over the 10 instructions or the 10 commandments on that day. It might be a good thing to do. You know, maybe worship, and then we'll go from there and see what happens. But just remember, okay, it's a covenant. He pretty much, bringing them out of Mitzrayim, He was pretty much revealing Himself to them. It would almost be like courting, okay, which courting is pretty much saying saying and telling, this is what I could do for you, okay, and showing Him what He can do for them. And then He says, okay, now I've shown you what I can do, what I'm capable of. Now I want to ask you for your hand in marriage. Okay, and that's what was happening here. He is marrying them. Okay, and so in actuality, it's an anniversary. It's an anniversary. We can look back at His instructions, look back at His the commandments. Okay, to make sure that we're keeping them. Okay, there was certain things. There was one thing that we did when we got married. We went to counseling, and they and this is before we knew the name, and these people didn't know the name, but there was some good stuff that we still learned. Okay, and one of the things was there was 5 categories of what's important to us. Okay, and we wrote them down, like what's more important. I think it was like gift, service, encouragement. And there was 5 things. I don't remember what it was, but anyways, we wrote them down, and we got them stuck on the mirror in our bedroom. Okay, and I don't see it every day, and I'm sure Tiana don't see it every day, but every now and again I'll look at that list and see the things that are important to her, and I say, am I still doing some of them? Okay, am I remembering to do that? Am I remembering to do these things? And I'm sure she probably does the same, because it's up there on the mirror. So it's the same thing. So it's pretty much a wedding anniversary. Okay, it's a time that we're going to gather and give thanks. We're going to reminisce. We're going to go over the things that Yahuwah has done for us, the time that we've spent with Him. Okay, the things that He's brought us through. Maybe we came through some hard times. Okay, maybe it's been a hard year. We had to struggle with some things, but Yahuwah has got us through. Okay, and we could tell Him, thank you. Thank you for getting me through. Man, this was a tough year. It wasn't as easy as I expected it to be. This came unexpected. Okay, it was hard. I'm here. You got me through it. We're still together. Okay. Appreciate you. Thank you for being here with me. Okay. And whatever else. And you can spend that time, and you can say, who I could do. It could be a time of where you tell him, I'm going to do more of this for you. Okay. So it's a good time for us to gather. So, like I said, you'll hear Shavuot, Shavuot, and they all mean Feast of Weeks. Okay, and the Greek is Pentecost. So it's a 50 count from the end of unleavened bread to this time. Okay, and everything speaks of everything of these feasts is a physical thing, but it reminds us of a spiritual thing. So if we remember our anniversary each year with our physical mate, husband or wife, we have the same way with the spiritual thing with Yahuwah. Okay, it reminds us of what we've been through, what we've done, of how grateful we are to be together, whatever needs to be said. Okay, talk things out. Okay, then we have the trumpets, and after that we have trumpets, and then we have the sukkah, and then it starts over again. So we just go through. So we're going to pray and just give thanks to Yahuwah. Okay, it's so much easier to understand it like this now, because we understood that the Spirit came and there was the wind, and before we'd come together and we'd pray super hard. Bring a ruach, bring a ruach, bring a ruach. There's nothing wrong with praying, but we would pray super hard, and to the best of our ability we were trying to understand what everything was. But now we understand. Okay, and we just give thanks to Yahuwah that He has chosen us to be His bride. We're the bride of Yahushua. Okay, and that Yahuwah and Yahushua are one. So it's like, well, what are we? The bride of Yahuwah, the bride of Yahushua? We're both, because they're one. Okay, they're one and the same, the Father and the Son. So Yahuwah, we just give thanks. We thank you. We ask that you would just continue to prepare us, just as you prepared them on Mount Sinai, that they washed themselves and they cleaned their garments. We ask that we would clean our spiritual garments, that we would prepare ourselves, that if there's anything that needs to be cleaned up or changed in our life, anything that's affecting our relationship with you, that you prepare us this week, that we will be prepared to meet with you on a day to reminisce and to give thanks for what you've done, and to look forward to the future, the continued future, the relationship that we have together another year. We pray for your comfort to come over the congregation. We thank you for all the things that, whether we're going through now or we just went through, that we're still here, that we still have life. We're thankful for what is. Things that aren't going as well, we just ask that you would we leave them in your hands. We lift it up to you. All those things, the plans, things that frustrate, things that discourage, things that drain us spiritually and physically. Right now we just release that unto you. We ask that you give us wisdom on how to deal with it, and how to deal with whether it's a person, it's a thing, or whatever it is, whether it's doubt, question, uncertainty about certain things. We just come before you on this day of rest. It says this day of we spend quality time with you, and we ask you as a father, as a husband, Yahushua, that you be the head, that you help us. We come to you as your bride, and we release these things unto you as you being the head. We ask that you give us revelation on what to do, how to deal with it. We ask that you just give us contentment. We ask that you give us endurance, that we will continue to walk in you. You'll continue to give us strength. We thank you that even as we stumble at times, that we don't give up. We're still here, and we believe and we trust in you, that you can do all things, that you can change those things about us that even we've been struggling with for years, that it's still not too late, that you have the power to move mountains in our lives, move mindsets, and we just honor you today. We baruch you. We give you esteem. Hallelujah. We thank you, Yahuwah, in Yahushua's name. Amen. You are dismissed. Thank you for tuning in. Eagles Haven congregation.